quick look through a match that was recently posted on the forums between Justin and Ray. It's the finals matches. From what I understand, they had to play 3 matches because Justin went through the main and was not beat, and went through the second chance once on the way there. They got to the finals, so Ray had to beat twice, and ended up actually winning the finals. So we're going to look at one of those matches. I have no idea which one it is in the series. It's just the one that was posted on the forums. But we're going to look at the bigger errors. I'm not going through every last play. Second technical, I've only went through this match once real quickly myself, just to mark off the big errors and give you some feedback on the plays that I saw. So obviously there, I watched the match. I didn't even watch the match online at the time it was going on, so I have no idea how long they might have been to think how to play. I don't know if they were playing with clocks or not. I have no idea if they were adjusting for opponent strength on some of the cubes, maybe. I'm at a lot. So all I'm basically talking about is what the right play should be in the ideal bot versus bot situation, or the right decision. So again, just one of the bigger errors. If you go through the match yourself later and you think there's something else you'd like to hear talked about, you can obviously email me or post it on the forums for the errors. The first is Justin playing a 6-2 here. Kind of obviously a position he'd like to be blitzing in with his 5-point board against a no-point board. And doubled. This is kind of a common happens is where to run the blitz a little bit in this sort of situation. They realize that they want direct covers and they want direct attackers. Situations like that, and while in general that's true, and it's pretty costly to number, because by playing 11-5 as Justin did here, he himself 11 attacking numbers, playing his men completely. They're no longer connected whatsoever, so that if Ray rolls a 4 next roll, not getting his men around because he's displaced them into 2 separate parts of the board far away they can be from each other. By obviously when he's got 11, immediately attack the blot. But if you make the other play, the best play, just play here, not only does he still have plenty of numbers to hit loose, because before he had 11, he had all the aces. He still got all the 7s, so 6, 1, 5, 2, and 4, 3. Got the 10s, so 6, 4, and 5, 5. So already that's 9. That's almost the same amount of numbers to loose attack that blot. Also, gives a lot more freedom on how to play our upcoming rolls, as our men are spread out all over the board. We have control of everything. Board. So if Ray does come in with a 4 next turn, we'll be able to link our men up a lot easier and bring them around against that anchor. Also keep a lot more pressure on all areas of the board in case I didn't look at how all the 4s played when we entered this, but now some of the 4s are going to play possibly more awkwardly, so we get shots from the that we wouldn't otherwise get if we had brought in 11-5. So we have plenty of cuts or attackers. We'll kind of push that spare too far forward. There's no need to do it if, like here, there's a much better play available. The red anchor, we get to this 6-4. Sorry, there's the initial position. Anchored, and now our men are kind of cut into 2 halves. And you have to bring this kind of position around too. What we're looking at here is Justin having a much stronger inner board, and obviously a better anchor and huge racing lead. He needs to figure out the best way to get his guys around the board. Side on the 9-point right now, on his side of the board, really in much danger. Hit it, Ray, of course, will have to leave this anchor, and he's not going to leave that anchor unless it's a really real spot to do so, because he leaves that anchor and never gets hit back, then he's gammons all over the place. So this blot in general isn't in a lot of danger. especially gets connected up with other blots, like the best player that runs out 14. You see that as, shot plus, way too many hitting numbers. But if you look at it, if we look at the final play here, you're going to get a lot of numbers don't hit. He'll hit twice, of course, with 5-1, 5-1, 5-2, and 5-5. Other than that, though, Ray can't leave in shots really of any sort here. So some numbers that you might think hit don't. Again, over the board, you should go through the numbers of how your opponent's numbers would play, and you'll get a better sense of if he's and how high he's hitting. Obviously he'll choose something like 2-1 or 1-1 because he gets to make the 11 point. But 4-6, do you really think he's hitting you? Think anchor, or is it just leave indirects in his own outfield? There are a lot less numbers that hit. Super safe and very inflexible play that's made here. I don't. You get return shots. Time he gets hit on the bar point. Again, through the numbers, and think about how White should play, you're going to notice that White hit on his bar point unless he's either making the bar point or any not leaving any shots. He may have an awkward number or two to actually hit on the bar point, but cases if he has the choice whether to do or not, he's not going to leave a block there because it is too many return shots. A lot less contact and a lot less flexibility this way. Where Justin, again, is still, because of his safe play, he wasn't able really to escape, and he's also kind of had dictators that he brought into his board trying to play safe, and he has nobody out here. So we get to a point where he can throw a man or two men into the outfield. We got a pretty good racing lane. So now the question is, does he just run one man all the way around? Does he throw two guys out? The hop and two guys out. Again, it's much easier if we look at the final play. So I'll set up the final play right now. Here's the two guys out play. First, we're going to see that 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 2-3. Those are just gigantic swing numbers. Now they're just pretty crushing numbers. They put the guy in the air. Again, a 4 or 5 point board. And weren't too from being some real danger. So there are those huge numbers there. That was, I don't know, it sounded like 10 numbers or so that pretty strong for White. It's a situation where, like a 3-2, a 4-2 maybe, where point or make the 5 point, and then we're going to have the other point slotted so that if he again doesn't perform well from the bar, it's pretty much going to be lights out. So a few of those numbers. And lastly, there's a situation where White does this turn, of course. Maybe covers his blot, buries the checker, something out of that sort. And then Black next turn isn't able to escape the guy behind the little mini 3 prime, which obviously happens with 9 rolls. And it's attacked next turn. So, it's the situations that arise from that. The other play shown here, where we just run the checker around, direct shots don't hurt hardly at all. I haven't really thought about it till right now. But if obviously the blot is a huge compensation for us, and also even if we miss that blot, we've got that to come up in on and extra numbers that hit like 5 or 1-1 where we can hit the on our 4 point. So there's a counter play for any indirects that might come into play. So I'm not really worried about the indirects here at all. On the anchor for safety and wait and see what happens. And not give, again, the biggest drawback of the other play was giving all those immediate. So don't give them here. We can wait and see if we find better numbers to run with. Any of the big doubles, or we rely for a 5-6 or things like that next turn, or we just wait. We see what happens. It's just too early to throw it out and give that many good numbers. So 9 away, 11 away. Not going to really make much of a difference here. Right. When I looked at this play to begin with, I go through these without the shown on the left. I just go through them and see how I play them first when I'm looking at a match. So when small doubles like this, obviously play them slower than you would most rolls because there are going to be more choices to make sure that I don't look any plays. And do that the only candidate plays had were the here. And once that means that I can play 2 of the 3s. So 11-8, you see it in both of these, and 13-10 gets played in both of these. After you do that, maybe it's a little easier to pick out the last 2 3s and figure out what you want to do with this position. It is for me sometimes, so that's why when I'm sure part of the play is forced, I make the forced part of the play, but make sure it's forced. Too many people pay air quote part of the play and it wasn't forced, and they ended up overlooking a better play. So I'm sure it's forced first. That we have the dilemma of do we want the 18 point or do we the 5 point? Again, hopefully we have some sort of running pip count. Obviously, we're up a D on the race, so off the 18 point isn't out of the question. Here we're off the 18 point. It's an okay distribution, little but still okay distribution. We're out for a race, so that's good. We're around without too many problems. And play, which is just flat out making the 5 point, really pressure on the situation. I was sure in looking at this play initially, DMP, that's a constant question I've learned to ask myself every time what the DMP play is. If it's a DMP play, and it's clearly the DMP play in my mind, it's going to be the right play the vast majority of the time. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it for me. Here, I wasn't really sure, because after this play, after the 5 point, you put so much pressure on to anchor up on the 4 point. And you still, of course, still have the same racing lead. Need the position to play out either way. But there's a lot of pressure on sort of anchor or do, get that out of trouble when you have a left man in the zone and it's just a solid priming structure. So I wasn't sure at DMP. It's obviously going to win more gammons than the other play. This is the play I would have went with. Also because if I'm sure between 2 plays, I'm just going to 5 point. That's the story to me. If you decide in between and you're not sure, the other play isn't jumping out and screaming at you to make it, just make 5 point, because if you make the other play, it's going to be wrong and wrong by a lot. When the 5 point is going to be wrong, and also when the 5 point is wrong, it's just wrong by a very small amount. Cubes, I'm not going to go through them. These standard holding game cubes. Again, this kind of holding game where Ray has, the bar point plus the 10 point for that match, and he's got a racing lead that is big enough to double if it were a straight race. These are cube holding game. Cube in a 4 or 5, any type of holding game, I guess. So he have cubes here of, varying degrees. They're all small, but I would have doubled them again. Game I don't cube. Again, ELO difference. It's a pretty cool game for me to play. With the biggie, I'm not worried about the racing cubes coming back. Having a sort of efficient 4 cube coming back at me when I'm already up so much in the race. It takes a lot to turn that around. So it's usually so high for these. And again, the repetition on market low. I usually double these in general. But anyway, some of that, and this is only a middling sized error. I thought it was worth talking about. For that, when you do have this, we have a 20 pip lead after the roll, 21 pips, but not on roll. Big enough lead to not only clear the outermost point, but it still just keeps us a lot of flexibility with keeping our spares high. At least it looks like at the end. This keeps our spares really high, gives us more timing to clear the midpoint. And it clears the 10-point, which shouldn't be a problem to clear. But right now it's better than, put checkers deep in our board with the play was made over the board and because it's already stripped out. But you might think, yes, we, from the beginning here, we do keep 3-6-3 and to an extent 3-2 available for next roll for us to clear the midpoint. So that's immediate rolls where it's for us next turn, but that's really next turn because after that we're going to have to give up one of these points. And also might have to give up one of these points in the wrong order, which we definitely don't want to do. It's like this where we're not really holding him anymore. We're not worried about him going much of anywhere. He's obviously not running with something like 6-5. Anywhere with that, really holding back his double sixes right now. So we're not holding him a lot. We'd rather have the high space and clear the point than one turn parlay of having a few extra rolls to clear that point. And on a little thing here, again, don't overlook anything. There's not much to overlook here. The first two are pretty much forced. Coming in 11 point after that, you're up, or do you make the 4 point? Worry about anchoring up in the least, so it would have been thrown out of my book here. It puts a lot of pressure on the opponent to roll an immediate 4 to anchor up, or obviously 6-2 or something of that nature. Otherwise, a lot of pressure on your own 5 point. Also, backmen are split, so you have a lot of numbers that also make an advanced anchor next turn. You're going to have 2-1, 1-4, 3, and 6-5, and obviously double 4s and double 6s and double 2s. You have enough numbers on to make it advanced to anchor in the game, and it's not likely to improve much next turn on this side of the board. You just have many point-making numbers, no diversified men, so you don't really need to worry about anchoring up so soon. So I can't really speak to what's here. Obviously, they're all really close. That's what the best play is. I would have played 2 off the 8. I played 2 off the 8. I wouldn't have run. I wasn't that smart to run 20 to 9. I went off the 8 though. We can talk about why 13-7, or both down from the midpoint, is such a bad choice. Situations you do want to possibly break the midpoint. You want to make your points in order. There's plenty of spares to play, that sort of thing, and that's what Justin was probably doing here. He either, can find an order to make the 5 point and then make the 2 point rather than toss them deep in his home board and get a dilly builder on his 3 point and just kind of an awkward looking position. This is, if we look at the final play after you bring down, is created a lot of pressure out here on points, on these stripped points. We'll have a whole heck of a lot to play if black keeps the midpoint. To be able to play safely in general, play flexibly. You're not going to be able to improve position much. He's going to have to kind of tiptoe through the outfield on the midpoint. Whereas if we give up that midpoint, now they just one man from these points. Either throw it around to the 8 point or throw it inside, or make the 10 to 9 point with one of these guys and not have no repercussions. No direct shots from black. See, to keep that pressure there. Pretty much can until white improves. Flexibility, we don't worry about it anyway. We shouldn't have a problem. We still have a couple turns. We shouldn't have a problem. A few turns of breaking this midpoint anyway and giving some more timing and flexibility to play. And again, white has to play something. He's got to give on the side within the next couple turns too. It's really need to keep the contact and keep the pressure on these guys so they can't be used really as builders for these outfield points. And this, I'm having a very hard time, so I don't like this play. You should be able to sleep at night for this. Wholly behind in the race here. The play, I feel like, screaming at you, just throwing up your hands, like you wouldn't even think about playing anything else at DMP rather than hitting and covering. So it's just very clear to me it wins way too much to pass up. Also, and cover, granted, twin shots, and they're not dead winners anymore, because Black doesn't have a closed board. Black's down and the 6 points open, and that's a big deal in these situations. If it may be a closed board, then I'd probably play safe. I'd have to look at it, but probably play safe with the 6 point board and all the damage you lose from getting hit and whatnot. Here, so, you could get hit, and Black will obviously still be stuck a little bit because you're broken sorts, and then you can come back in and still be in this game. I've already made over the board. It is too many outright winners. Obviously, we're going to leave 2-5 and 2-6. 2-2, terrible shot. It gets him a little bit out there. Not an outright winner by any means, but still not terrible. I'm going to have 4-3 and 4-4 and 4-5 and 4-6. Those are all just winners for Black, just because he's so much in the race. If Black doesn't get out of there this turn, it's still going to have to do something like probably back loose next turn against 5 point board. The board's a little stronger now, so it'll be better, but still, we gave that whole turn of freedom where any numbers did I count there. At least a third of the time, it sounded like Black just wins right away, and there's no repercussions. So, much now, with the ones back on your 2 point and the weight, letting throw all those winning numbers over the next. Still, the score isn't much of a factor yet. It's kind of, 8-0 in a way is still kind of normal. And had this one. This one's kind of tricky. The first time I looked at this again, I was kind of skimming through the match, so I decided to get this guy out from back here a little bit, and I saw 4 hit. Overlooked, I could hit in the outfield, so it made my choice easier. I hit in the outfield. Play is to come into the 6 point, then hold at fans, and then just complete the out. If you're stronger than your opponents, and he will have 2 men in the air against the point board. If you hit anywhere, but if you hit on the ace point, so that you're not worried about him throwing 1-1, something back in where you feign and throwing, he still has to throw another one to get back in the game. This is such a long parlay for 2 aces and get back in this game before you either, hit loose again off that point, back in and hit his other block, do something. So going here, 4 here, just to keep him from anchoring. Here, even if you hit the third checker, if he just rolls an ace. Now ace point game until the end. Give him a turn to throw an ace. Whereas hitting loose, you still have some covers when you hit him loose. You have also some 5-5. 7s and 5-5 is what I meant, obviously. And even if he hit you back, really not that harmful that he hit back. Still got a guy in the air, you still got the other blocking off. It's all about keeping him from anchoring when he do much harm, even does hit back. And to Justin, I don't know why he made this play. I can only guess. And I see this made play plainly, so my guess is going to be that they don't like picking up the play point. See, it leaves an odd number of men on the uppermost point. When the odd number of men, like 7 or 9 checkers, you really have to have some mighty sequence to come along to leave because of that. Fear is just like any game. It's a point cleared, it's a point not to be feared, It obviously, again, the DMP play a lot safer. There are no immediate bad rolls. Whereas if you play off the 4 point, you're going to 4 immediate bad rolls. You've got 6-4 and leave a blot immediately. Or if you pick up the 5 point now, you have no bad numbers. So to that point, and it's not like you're even keeping white hemmed in so that he can't escape. Other pips to play in the outfield, other checkers to play. He's not going to be wasting any pips if you kept the board. Right here. Yeah, times in the beginning, you will see it's right in early phases of the game to make the kind of play right here, which is make 5 point and hitting loose on the 4 point. We could simply point. This isn't one of those cases. Got race we're going to be up in already. There, playing the zone, enough guys in the zone already. If he comes in high, we could some sort of attack. A duplication of 4s to make the 9 point, make the 4. Again, I can't guess what Ray was thinking. There's just no real reason here to hit those shots back when other aspects of the game you're already winning. Just hang on to that without risk. And you don't have covers when you make this play. You're any clean covers, I say, other than 9s. To get away with this, cover this blot, you're going to have to do another part of your primes. So you had, again, some other checkers in the zone that could cover cleanly. Maybe this would make it better. I don't know, but it is. It's just a rough one for me. Let's not forget that we're at 6 away, 10 away. Obviously, pretty easy as the 10 away player. I hope I don't have any hesitation about that. Everything here is going to be, they're going to anchor up like that's going to cut off a black's counter play. You have risk, but black already stuck behind, what's going to we could have this at this point because he can't see daylight from here. All he can do is hope to split and then hope to anchor up after that, or ones or double 2s right away. But back here on the 24 point is pretty hemmed in. So it's clear. This, again, you need to know all the details. You don't have to remember the take points for every last score in the world. Don't memorize them. Good scores. You don't even really need to figure them out over the board. Use some common sense. Mine tells me at a score like this, it's not going to take points for the 6th player. Probably going to be a little higher than money. It's no big deal to start off with something like that. So if it's your live cube take points 21.5 for money, I'm going to call it 23% here. It's going to be higher. Also, you are leading by a fair amount. Your gammon value is probably going to be a little bit lower than normal. It's still worth enough. It's not going to drop anywhere significant at a score like this, but just a shade less than normal, maybe 0.45, somewhere around 0.45 and 0.5. So no, but also your opponent's gammons are going to be worth a little more. And at a score like this, I'd between just under 0.6 somewhere, between 0.5 and 0.6. So these are all factors that are pulling in your opponent's favor. You just need to remember that. Because for money, I looked at this and I was like, I think I should take this for money. I was like, I still have a decent forward position as black. Race is still close. There are ways that I could scrape this game back together. I thought I'd take it, but it wasn't really a happy kind of cheering take. It made me want to think about passing. It did make me want to pass. If I wasn't real sure for money, then at the score, it's definitely not going to be happy. I can go up and analyze cube information, check everything I said out. Number is always low. The exports are pretty much cube is a little better than I like it to be. So I would say 23% is about where the live cube take point is. He's on a 2 cube. The 6 away players is a little less than normal, and the 5 away players is a little more than normal. And you're probably at scores like this, your recubes are very where you're the 6 away player. 6 away is might actually be higher here, but in general, a little more handcuffed. No, right. Sorry for me to read upside down. So, yeah, he is a little handcuffed on the recoup. As far as the 10-away player, you don't get as much use out of the cubes in general because the other person's take point is going to be lower. I playing out if I had too much free time for back, which not a lot of us do. But see how it does develop and how black wins and how often, white wins. These are the win percentage is obviously high. Again, the win percentage is going to be high because white's usually going to, I think this is what happens. I haven't had a chance to play it out, but white to anchor up, which pretty much nullifies any chances of black having that side of the board. And once anchored up, he's going to bring a guy or guys back down into the zone, so black's going to have problems ever swinging too. So the most part is either going to have to cough up a blot somewhere or just play behind the anchor for a while. Then white leads the men around, bring it easily, and then lose some gammons in the process. Black will from either coughing up the other blot, trying to get off this anchor and not being able to, or just simply gammons from playing the ace point game itself. All right, helps direct shots for any reason here, I don't think, in our inner board. We're obviously hitting the second checker, and then we're clearly covering the point and making the 3 and leaving a blot. I don't think there's a reason for that because we will have enough men in the zone with 2 air and a 4-point board against just the 1-point board to completely close it out pretty easily. So we cover, then we go down 14-9 to have another man aimed with 3.6s. And like this, you don't need to worry about getting off the anchor with 1 or 2 of them or anything like that. Escaping numbers in general here, we can escape after we've completed this closeout. We're not really worried about being in here. We got all kinds of escaping numbers and all kinds of time to do it. Run off here with 1, obviously you're leaving double 1s and double 3s immediately. But still there's no reason to do it. Our last 5 especially could be used to bring yet another man in the zone. We make this to play the blitz out. We're in blitz mode like this, go full blitz mode. Like this complete blitz mode here. He has a board, you have the best anchor, you got a 4-point board with all kinds of builders, got 2 in the air, everything about it says full blitz mode. So just in the zone, complete the closeout, work the other stuff later. And win 4 points there, so it should be 6 away, 6 away. And let's go. So 4-2, I did want to play 22-18 the other half of the roll when I was kind of depressed. There was no 2 to play. Mental through the pack, checker back on the 22-point and clear the 10-point. We definitely want to get out of there if we could. The other half of the roll. It was very detrimental to our forward position and to the number of shots and blocks we leave. If we play mate over the board, which looks this. Now, obviously, the numbers that hit out here are plenty. Also, the numbers that hit our 10-point blot, 5-5 and 5-6 and 4-6 and 2-6. Added us to hit that blot. Also, it's going to leave us a little bit because we're obviously going to hit with any numbers that hit over here. So 2-2 and 2-3 and 4-1 and 4-2 and 4-8 and 5-1 and 5-2 and 5-3. So there are a lot of numbers that have our next turn one or the other. Obviously, the 10-point blot beat is a lot more for us too. So there's a reason really to do it right now. We're not somewhere to escape out of there. We just clean it up and wait for a better opportunity to get out of there. The pointless double, a longer double than it normally would be because of the score. Remember, in general, when you're 4 or 5 away, this is for most scores where you don't have a huge lead. 5 away and 6 away here. So about 5 away. 5 away, a gammon is generally going to have a higher value because if you do the Crawford game, so your gammon value should be a little bit elevated. What's going on here? We actually probably have any bad rolls. We got a lot of good rolls and a lot of good sequences, and even numbers that just turn white to a crushing position with double threes or double fours, double sixes. We got a lot of huge jokers. Then we just got the base that our game is good overall because black has went out of taking a man out of the zone, being down so many pips, and just having no development whatsoever. So we're likely going to make another offensive point, whether 5 point, the 4 point, knows, but the 5 or the 4 a lot of time, maybe. And then if black doesn't throw something good right away, that's going to be market loss. Obviously, it's just a very, very overall for long term. Since it's double, though, you'll see a lot of these are huge takes for money. A lot of not even being doubles. Take, but still have to double this because a lot of things can go right over this next sequence. And when things did really right, and then we got down here, and I'm like I see a lot of people panic. He knows that Justin isn't taking this. I don't think anyone possibly taking this, not cubing on that. But sequence kind of go bad. Like it was going so well here. He rolled 4. He's just dominating the position. He was obviously, in here. And then black rolled really well. And then you're like, oh, I'm getting in trouble. I bet this game. There's no 2. Black getting back in this game. It takes a small miracle for black to get back in this game. Weird whatsoever about black getting back in this game by throwing a 1 and 24-23 back game. Yeah, for it, and even have the timing for it at this stage, it's still a pretty horrible game that you're going to get out of it. It's so hard to keep your timing for this game when you're already, got the best 4-point board in front of you. We can even see a way that your opponent can really get back in the game. So know that the cube is, when it hits the felt, is going to be dropped before it even touches it. Reconsider and reconsider. Make sure you don't want to be playing on. Just a little that can go wrong here. I can't, reason to panic. All right, 5 away. So, values up, take point down. This isn't a big error. I just pointed out because it's a very situation. That's why I wanted to bring it up for people to look at if they would also miss this cube. 3-point board is a little stronger as white. R being made is a big deal. And also you have the market loss available that's pretty tangible. You'll be able to see that 4-1 and 6-3 and 4-5 and double 4s and double 6s are all most likely market loss. Fairly market loss most of the time. So against law, that's going to get you however many market lifts that you probably need to at least consider it. Considering here, again, you have a lower take point score. Take point to the player 20%. Again, I said these numbers are low. 20% is what you're using. And then elevated gammon value of 0.5. So in general, those two and treat them separately. But in general, the lower take point and the gammons kind of even each other out in a lot of situations. So it gets to be money-like in a lot of situations. If anybody. Yeah. And right, just following my own question. What am I making at DMP? You don't need to worry about taking the anchor and be worried about all the gammons. So then I would split and make the 5-point. It made this very, very easy for me. Again, I wasn't scared of gammons, which I think a lot of people get over the board. Safe play, which maybe it assures that they're in it longer. The game gets played out longer. Nothing goes really bad really soon. But it obviously doesn't give you the best chances of winning. So this common type scenario, again, this is only a small to medium-sized error, so it's not a big deal. But notice what's going on in a position, like going over the next couple sequences, is a big deal. Knowing whether, the guy on the 11 point, whether he is a builder or a blot, how you refer to situations makes a big difference. After 13-8, here to me is a blot. May be hit by, of course, immediately by 6-2, 4-4, and 2-2. It's not a lot of shots. It's just when you're in a situation where you feel like there might be a lot of action immediately. After 13-8 down, if obviously the blot to begin with, but you do something constructive on his side of the board, he's likely to be maybe smacking this checker on the ace point around. Better board, you can't anchor, so he might slap this checker around a little bit. When this guy starts getting slapped around, the last is another guy sitting out here. A fan sequence, this is a really big issue. Or you just some awkward number and he's still forced to stay a block for another turn. So there's going to be a lot of action immediately. You're not going to get to use this guy as a builder. Maybe pick him up, maybe want to safety him so that you don't have the actual loose blocks flat floating around when it goes that way. Four-way. The take points just a little bit above money, 22.5%. I'd be thinking to myself before this started. And the biggest deal at four-way is the gammon value on a 2 cube, which is basically 1. So single wins and your gammon trade-off are going to be equal. So here, just making a more pure type play. Right, in certain situations, you can hit the ace point, and especially if the ace point here, you're leaving your opponent too much freedom. 9-point builder is very strong. This 9-point builder pretty much ensures that when white's a turn and he's left unpestered, to play a full roll, white's either going to make the bar point, the 5-point, or the 4-point in general. Maybe he'll be forced to make the 9-point on a situation, or anchor up with something like a 6-5. But most of his numbers are going to use to make one of these 3 points, one of the best points. It's really a little bit of a tempo play to hit on the ace to keep him from using that builder. And you do that with the first 3 come in and 2 to the ace. The one is down from midpoint. Again, I mean generally. Not because the extra checker in the zone is worth so much, especially going to be blitzing. It's just it keeps your backmen connected. It gives you a chance to anchor here on the 20 point rather than running out, leaving these guys deserted back here and just having or whatever you get so that you can anchor. Here, pretty lame. Can't do it. Yeah, I just kind of looked around when I saw this, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this roll? You want to split your backman again, at least in some way. We could fight to anchor up now. We have the slightly stronger board, and again, there's just no better way to play this roll. It's a aggressive way of going after a higher anchor by bringing them all up with the play. Up to obviously some pretty sequences of the smaller doubles. But you should be able next turn make one of these higher anchors, or possibly anchor out on the 16 or the 15 with your rolls. It's really just right because there's nothing else. Even just bring one of them up, then come down with the other checker, like the second or third best plays here. It leaves shots in the outfield, like not that were otherwise no good for white, are all of a sudden good with like a shot with 6 shots. the anchor, even though you're behind in the race too. Justin needs some work on his rolling in this game. Like this, the first thing I hope you've been trading on, you would see before you rolled, before the dice were even down there, one other than anchoring up, would be, making the 11 point with your deuces, because you don't really have any other deuce nation with a anchor making number. A number like this, I really want to play 13-11. And 13-11 then gets rid of this running all the way out play. Safety, why we're behind in the race, really isn't our priority here. The higher point, the higher inner board block to be act, and also leaves again the 3-6, the 4-6, the 5-4, the numbers I talked about earlier to hit the outfield. Lock's point is for late. Obviously, it'll just go provide coverage over this part of the board, and hopefully eventually be used to make better points or attack blocks. So we play 13-11. The 5's left, and this play for me, high tempo a little bit. We don't, with the best play here, we look at it. It's not, keeps our backmen connected. Some sort of duplication of 3s. Not a bad play. It's better. I just like the tempo of it. Just taking away half the roll to make sure that you can't point on me unless it's with doublets. Just a chance again next turn to make that anchor. Next turn. Two pieces to this situation for me. I looked at this. The first thing I looked at when I threw these double 5s was the pip count. Because more in the pip count, I had in the back checkers and cold today. I mean, if I just run around to the 11 point with the intention of cubing, whether he were up, if we were up and racing up, it wouldn't matter. Once that, we're going to be up 8 pips and on roll, that's really not enough pips. So that was the first big consideration in my mind. The second consideration was, in the air right now, and obviously the other two 5s play pretty decently, just lifting up, maybe leaving no blots around. If I put in the air right now, he's not going to do anything, and he's going to have these 2 blots stranded around here. 2 can pick one or pick up to keep him from making the bar point, which is a minor nuisance too. So putting him in the air to me had real value with the blot here, and I'll be attacked and not seemingly just a run. And I wouldn't have probably considered queuing this too much. Words equal race, yes, white does have a lot of blots around, and lots at a score where gammons mean a lot. But, you're favored to hit 2 of them or anything. You're probably, I don't even count if you're favored to hit 1 of the big ones. 11, 12, 13, 14. You're even favored to hit 1 of the ones you'd like to be hitting. So even when you do, obviously white can still anchor up. So this is a premature for me. And that may be it. That's what won him the match, that cube, and then that cube that got the gammon from there. So this match, again, don't get too much of a hard time. It's kind of quick and dirty kind of analysis. If you have any feedback, though, would love to hear it, or anything that would make this better in the future. I decide to do these again. Or email me. All right, thanks.